Okay, good morning, everybody.
Hi,
Welcome.
good morning, Dr. Diane. Okay.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Touchpoint number 2. First of all, we'd like to wish everyone Selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri, and also Happy Vesak Day for those who have been celebrating it. Okay. Good morning, Dr. Diane Chimbers. Okay, and we are here to follow up with our Touchpoint 2. We pass the session now to Diane.
Thank you very much. Okay, so good morning, everybody. I hope you've been working really hard on your iOER. Today, I'm just going to take you through a couple of different things that people have requested. So I'm going to talk about how we attribute our iOER. So once we've created it, how do we then make sure that we're putting the right license on it? I'm also going to talk about inclusive websites. Some people have asked in regards to how do I make sure my website is inclusive? And I'm going to talk about accessible PowerPoints. Then we're going to have a bit of a look at our progress to date. And we've got a couple of participants who are going to present what they've done so far. So we're pretty excited about that. Okay, so just a bit of our timeline. Obviously, we've done Touchpoint 1. We're now on Touchpoint 2. And here we're looking at, having your iOER well in progress. So the next touch point will be on the 6th of June. And the 6th of June, we're going to be looking at really checking our iOER to make sure it is inclusive. Dr. Chong.
Dr. Diane, you haven't shared the screen.
Oh, well, that's a problem, isn't it? Let me try that again. How's that?
Yes, nice.
Okay, great. So 6th of June, we're looking at making sure our iOER is accessible, and then hoping to have it all completed by the 15th of June. So by then, having a complete iOER on your repository at your institution. The celebration is to be confirmed, so end of June or early July. We're not quite sure yet. Okay. The first thing I wanted to do this morning was just to demonstrate how to curate an iOER. So what I've got on my screen here is just a screenshot from OER Commons. And it's a little quiz on digital footprints. And it was designed in 2016 by Lynn Aaron at Rockland Community College in New York. So I've downloaded that particular resource. I'm going to show it to you right now. And that resource looks like, if I can find it, here we go. Excuse me. Here we go. So that resource looks like this. And it's very simple, talks about digital footprints, gives a link to a YouTube video, and then has a number of questions for students. At the end, it has its attribution, which is a non-commercial share-alike attribution. So I can make changes to this as long as I don't use it in a commercial way, and I can actually make sure I use exactly the same license when I put it back up online. Okay, so what I've done to this particular resource, I suppose you could call it, is I've modified it slightly. And let me go back to it. Ooh, sorry, I've lost it again. Where are we? Here we are. So this is how I've come in and modified it. And you can see here, I've highlighted the bits that I've changed. So I've added a picture. I've added another website, which is more up to date because that one was quite old. And I've asked the students to actually look at either of those websites, or they could look at both if they wanted to. I've asked them to use word processing program, and then I've added one of my own questions in there as well. When I've put my little license down the bottom, you can see that this work is a derivative. I've made changes to it. It's from Lynn Aaron, and that takes you back to the original source. So if I clicked on that Lynn Aaron link, it would take me back to iOER Commons. This work is now licensed under exactly the same license by myself, 2022. And normally I haven't put it up anywhere, but if I did, I would have my name also in hyperlink, and I would be able to click on that and go straight to this resource as well. So very simple explanation of how I might go and curate an iOER resource. Now, obviously, you might be doing much more complex changes than I would be doing, but it really does allow you to have a look at what you do in regards to those changes. Okay. Are there any questions on that? I know that was very quick, but no? Great. So very simple. That's how I would go and curate that particular resource. Then I need to decide what license to use. So in my case, I had a share alike, so I had to use the same license. But if I was going to change what I did, or have something that's not a share alike license, I need to then decide what I'm going to do. So for you guys now, you're probably at that stage where you've designed your resources, you've either modified or you've adapted or remixed resources together, and you need to determine what license you're going to apply to them. So it depends what you've done in regards to what license you'll apply. If you've developed your own resource, then you can put in whatever license you think is appropriate. And if it's brand new, it's not been adapted from anywhere, you've just designed it yourself, then feel free to go and apply any of those licenses. And often we will sometimes apply a public domain, which means it can be used anywhere. Adaptation, you might amend or alter something, and we need to note that in that particular license, and you can remix or recombine works as well. If it's a derivative work, it has to incorporate some of the original work and new materials that are brand new.
Pukul 10 ni ada D-team briefing.
Can you guys mute your microphone, please?
Okay, D-team tu sampai pukul...
Hang on a second.
Yeah, we need to mute them.
Hang on, I'll go in and mute them. Where are we?
So sorry about
That's all right.
Yeah,
let me just find that troublesome person and I'll mute them.
Muted already.
There we go. There's one. Okay, we should be okay now. Yep. Okay. So when you're looking at derivative works, that also has to be incorporated with new materials as well. Okay. So this is just a little graphic, and it tells you what you can do with each of those particular different types of original sources. So if my original source was a CC BY-SA, which means a Creative Commons license, attribution has to be given, and it has to be shared alike. Then can I change the license? No, I can't. So I have to use exactly the same license. So if I go across my little grid here, I can copy and publish using that material. I can attribute that material, and I have to attribute that material. I can use it for commercial use. I can modify and adapt it, but I need to make sure I maintain the same license. So you can see across the whole what you can do. Now, with an ND or a non-derivative, that means that you can't change that license. So it means that you can't modify and adapt material. You have to keep the same license, and you can't modify or adapt it. Okay, so you need to be very careful there. So depending on your original source, depends on what you actually need to do for your new developed iOER. And this is a really useful little graphic which takes you through that as well. In addition, you need to remember the 4 components that have to be included. So when we're attributing, we need to look at the title of the document, the author, who owns it, and it could be that in my case, I've put in 2 authors because somebody originally did it and then I added to it. You need to put in the source of the information and the license. So how can it be used by other people? Okay. Yep, there we go. So what license do you need to use? Now, this is the one that you can use to determine what your original work was and then what the license needs to be. So for example, if my original work was a CC BY NC, so attribution non-commercial, then I can use a BY-NC license and anything in the green. The yellow means that it depends on what it is as regards what you could use, okay? And grey means you can't use that license for that particular resource. So this gives you a bit of a idea of what sort of license you would then place onto your existing or new developed content. Dr. Chong.
Hi, Dr. Diane. Hope you don't mind. I would like to ask a question regarding
Of course.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we try to combine few CC license material, for example, I use one by, let's say I use a material by NC and share alike, means non-commercialized and share alike.
Yep.
And at the same time, I use another one buy and share alike without NC. So which one I should use, or I should separate them into different materials? I cannot combine them.
You can still combine them because there's no reason that you can't. But what you will need to do is look at the most restrictive license. So in your case, you would put in a BYNC SA.
Nice. Okay.
Because
Understood.
it's still non-commercial. So you've got one source that was non-commercial, one source that wasn't, and you're combining the two. They both need to be non-commercial.
All right. Understood.
Okay. So I would look at the most restrictive license and use that one as your guide.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Does that make sense? Yep. Good. And that's what you need to do. If you're remixing content, say you had content that was a BYNC and a BYSA, then your actual end product would be a BYNCSA. So you're combining those two together, and you need to have elements of both the share alike and a non-commercial in your final product. Okay, so it can get quite complicated, but generally this will give you a bit of a guide as to what you can do. Now you can see here too, if you had, you can follow the chart down the left-hand side and down the top and come to a point where it'll show you what you can actually use for your license. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. Is there any questions on licenses to use or attributions? Okay, I can't see any. So if there is, please stop me and let me know. It's important that you actually attribute effectively and appropriately to make sure that that content is then shared appropriately afterwards. What I'm going to very quickly talk about now is website accessibility. And I know we've gone through this before, but I just wanted to touch on it again. When we're building an accessible website, we need to make sure that everybody using that website can use it effectively. And that means that we build accessibility into what we do rather than try and retrofit it at a later stage. So when we're looking at web accessibility in particular, I'm going to show you this very quick video. Is it going to start? Yes. Okay. And this is just about easy checks, things that we would start to do as we built our website. So I'm just going to play this for you now.
Easy checks for web accessibility. Even if you're new to web accessibility and not technical, you can check some aspects of accessibility yourself. Easy checks, a first review of web accessibility, gives you step-by-step instructions to get a rough idea of the accessibility of any web page.
Oh.
For example, a web page from your own website, from your competitor, or from suppliers you might want to work with. It is not a complete evaluation of accessibility. More assessment by professionals is needed for a definitive and comprehensive evaluation. Sometimes, doing just a few of these checks can give you an indication of the overall accessibility. Some checks are simple. For example, looking at the title of the web page displayed in the browser window. You can do most of the checks using any web browser. Some checks are easier using an extension for your browser. Start your accessibility journey right now by doing some easy checks. Web accessibility, essential for some, useful for all. For more information on easy checks for web accessibility, visit w3.org/WAI/evaluation.
Okay. So when we're looking at easy checks, there's a number of different things that we can do. And one of the first ones is looking at that title. So does it describe the content, or is it very airy-fairy and doesn't really tell us what's going on with that web page? Are there alternative text for pictures? And that for people with a vision impairment, that alternative text is vital, because if they're using a screen reader, it will read out what those pictures are. So it can't just say picture, it has to explain what that picture is. Then we're looking at things like headings. Are the headings, very clear? Are they in a hierarchy? So major headings, subheadings. Is the color contrast appropriate? We need to make sure that there's sufficient contrast for people to perceive information on a page if necessary. And do we need to make sure that if I'm resizing that website, for example, that the text is also resizing all of it. So sometimes what happens is you might resize a web page and one part of the text will be really big and the rest of the text will still be the same size. That causes real issues for students who can't perceive that information clearly. Things like interaction with the keyboard. Is there a really clear order on that web page for people to follow through? Is there not too much information? Is it not spread higgledy-piggledy all over the place? And in general, things like being able to move around the website, if there's any flashing information that needs to be taken into account, and multimedia alternatives. So if I've got a video embedded in my website, has it got closed captions? Am I able to ensure that everybody can access that particular piece of information? So they're very basic, easy checks that we can do on our accessible websites. If you want to go a bit further than that, there are some really good tools, and in particular on browsers, so Chrome, Google Chrome and Firefox, for example, have extensions that you can add in that will check the accessibility of your website. Wave is one of those. Oh, and if you want to learn more too, there's some free courses that are available. So open access courses for you on learning more about accessible websites. So there's quite a lot of detailed information in regards to accessible websites, and some of it is beyond me. I try and do what I can, but I'm not a web developer, so easy checks can be more useful for me. If I want to really check a website for accessibility, I might look at something like Wave, and Wave is an evaluation tool. So Wave I can embed into my Google Chrome browser and then just click the button to check the accessibility of a particular web page. So it's got a number of different tools available, and you can just put the web extension into the tool, and it will actually do the work for you and tell you what is good, what is not good, what needs to be addressed to make it more accessible for students. Have I got an example? Hang on, let me just check that. Can't remember. Yeah. So here's an example. So I've put a open education resource website from UNESCO into the tool. So you can see the address at the top left-hand side there. And you can see it brings me up a summary of different errors that might occur. So contrast can be a problem. There might be other features that are an issue. And on the actual page itself, it'll tell me what things are appropriate, what things are not, what I need to then address. So H1 means heading 1, and that's appropriate. No worries at all. I can check all of that. So if I click on these individual ones, it'll take me to the exact errors that are occurring on that particular page. And then if I'm really good at what I do, I can go back in and fix those errors as well. Okay, so WebAIM and Wave tool is very useful. It's only useful though if you know what you're doing. And I must admit, like I said, I'm not a web developer. So for me, I would find some of this confusing, but I would then access somebody who did know what was going on in regards to website development, and they would help me to determine what I would need to do for this particular site. So very few websites are very accessible. Obviously UNESCO's is not, okay? So very interesting. The last thing I wanted to talk, oh, sorry, if there's any questions on that, please let me know. No question? No? Okay. The last thing I wanted to really touch base on today before we go on and talk about progress is accessible PowerPoint slides. So I know I've been over this before, but I just wanted to retouch on it. I have had some questions from some people. And one of the best ways to actually check your accessibility is with the accessibility checker built into PowerPoint. So if you go to the review tab and then click on check accessibility, it'll come up with information about how accessible your particular PowerPoint is. For students with vision and hearing impairment, we're looking at things like contrast, alternative text if we've got pictures on our PowerPoints, captions if we're using video, for example. All of those things will come up in an accessibility checker. So once you've clicked on the check accessibility, the little accessibility box will come up on the right-hand side, and it'll tell you what errors there are and what warnings there are. Now, this is interesting because I did this on this particular PowerPoint, and it came up with missing slide titles, although I do have slide titles. So what I need to do is tell it that it's a slide title, okay? And that's important because if I've got a student who's using a screen reader, the screen reader needs to say, this is the video, that this is the PowerPoint slide title. So I'll need to go back in and say, and tell it that this is the title. So give it a heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 designation. Okay. The other thing too is using captions for audio and video. I didn't have my captions turned on, which I should have. So it'll tell me about that. And it tells me if I click on the arrow, exactly what slide that's on and what media I should be looking at to address. So it'll identify those items, it'll tell you what you need to do, and then you can actually go in and address those things on your PowerPoint slide. So that's by far and away the most effective way of determining your accessibility in PowerPoint. There are other tools available as well, and I've reloaded onto the Touchpoint 2 site information about PowerPoint accessibility and information and a PowerPoint accessibility checklist as well. So you can reuse those. So I've got Zulkarnain. Did you have a question?
Okay.
Dr. Dayan?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. For alternative text, let's say the visual is an infographic and is it's a flow chart probably. So to what extent should the alternative text elaborate?
So there's a couple of ways you can do that. So I'll come back to you, Zulkarnain. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can break that flowchart into component parts and describe each of those component parts rather than having it as one huge big flowchart. Or you can actually describe it in the alternative text, although that can get really complex. So I would be inclined to break it into smaller components for a student. We've had to do that recently for one of our students where we had quite a big infographic and they couldn't actually comprehend all of it in one hit. So one thing that they do tell us with infographics with students with visual impairments is to break them up into smaller components. Does that help?
Thank you.
No worries. So Zulkarnain, sorry about that. How can I help?
Okay, Dr. Dan. There's another method of sharing PowerPoints. For example, Simulation, we do regular meetings with people with disability, and we do intend to share our materials with them. So sometimes we also convert PowerPoint to PDF. So do you think that we, just by converting the PowerPoint, or we need to have one version of PDF which only have words and without any graphics for them to better read the PowerPoint in the PDF mode?
Yeah, I think if you're going to convert an existing PowerPoint to PDF, you then need to go in and make sure that PDF itself was accessible. So the way that I do it for my students at a university is I don't actually give them my PowerPoint slides. I give them a Word version. So I give them, I convert my PowerPoint slides by saving it as an outline. So if you go to PowerPoint and do Save As, go down to Save it as an outline, it'll give you all of your written content. And then I tidy all that up. I make it the same size. I make sure that it's logical. And then I'll have that as a handout rather than my PowerPoint slides. It means that students can use that to write on, to take notes, but they can also read it more fluently, more easily.
So, just to confirm it, so it's more of my reading script compared to a PowerPoint, a PowerPoint document.
Yeah, it depends what you're trying to portray in your PowerPoint. Are you giving information in your PowerPoint?
Yes, we would like to share more about certain things that we do. So sometimes the PowerPoint would have flow chart, arrows, and just to simplify. But when we are explaining, of course, we will be having it in detail. But for those who with especially vision issues or impairment, so they won't be able to really see what are we trying to explain.
Yeah. So if you're putting your notes in, you'll need to provide alternative text. If you're just saving it as a PDF, you'll then need to go back and put alternative text in where you're describing that particular graphic.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Day.
Because otherwise they won't be able to access that with any screen reader. And that's an issue for students with a vision impairment. So you can save it as a PDF, but you then need to go and make sure that your PDF itself is accessible. Okay. And Nabiata.
Good morning, Dr. Dian.
Good morning.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Dian, can I come back to the website accessibility? I have a question about that. When we can use the website accessibility, is the process same as when we do the PDF or slide accessibility, or when we already have the materials, then we only can do the website accessibility?
No, you can do it both ways. So you can make your materials accessible as you put them onto the website. So you can have your pictures with alternative text. You can have, your structure in place effectively. So you can do that as you build the website. And in fact, that's the preferred way to go. So you're making sure that what you're doing is accessible beforehand rather than having to go back and do it again later on. Okay, so that would be the preferred option. But obviously, you're going to be checking your website after you've completed it, and things will always come up. There's always something that has to be adjusted. So that's okay to do it that way as well. But as much as possible, try and make sure that when you're developing it, it's going to be accessible for everyone. So think about the colours you're using and stuff like that. If we have very similar colours together, then people can't see it because of the contrast. So those types of things can be considered while we're building our websites.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks, Dr. Dian.
Thank you. Zulkarnain, did you have another one?
Yes, Dr. Dian. Okay, coming to the back to the licensing. Okay, for example, PowerPoint, we do share some graphic images, sometimes videos. So does the video itself have a different licensing, or when we use it, put in the licensing, it needs to also consider the video licensing in our PowerPoint?
Absolutely. So everything that, if you're building your PowerPoint, you need to make sure you've got rights to use that video at whatever license level that you're going to be putting in. So if you're putting in a BYNC, then that should be okay. Most videos, non-commercial, that's okay. You can probably put that in. But you need to be checking with the original video source as to what their particular license is. And if they're copyrighted, then you need to get written permission to use those things. So would most of your videos be created by your own organisation?
We do have some videos that internally being prepared. So, but also we do need to relook whether we have written permission from the person who are in the video itself. So
yeah. So there's all those things that you need to consider. I mean, that's increasingly becoming required, that we make sure we have those permissions before we use the video. And you might want to, if you're going to get permissions from people as well, to get permissions for a particular license. So it might be that, an attribution license is the most appropriate, but you need to have a discussion with them around that too. Okay. Dr. Chong, you had a question.
Not a question, but to also add something to the reply of Dr. Nobita. So I think when we develop a website, let's say we're using WordPress, when we insert the image, there's a field there for us to insert alternative text or if you're using HTML5, you can use all the hierarchy codes like this is heading and heading 2 and so on. You do that at the beginning, that will be help you a lot when later than you do it afterwards. So I think whether at the same time or after, I think can be both. You can develop on, let's say you have accessibility on your mind before you develop it. So you try to make it more inclusive, contrast color and so on. And after that, after you're done, you can check again. I think
Yes.
apply to both. So at the same time and also after.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you need to do both. But as much as possible, if you can get it addressed in advance, then you have less work for yourself later on. Nobiata, did you have another question?
Yeah, I already asked Dr. Dan just now.
Oh, okay.
No more questions. Yep.
Okay, no worries. I'm just gonna lower your hand. Okay. So yeah, are there any more questions in regards to what we've been talking about? Okay. So what I'd like to do now is to invite some of our lovely participants in to discuss their own development of iOER. So first up, I would really love to invite Intan Ibrahim from University Malaysia Sabah to present the Touchpoint that they're actually working on.
Hello, hi everyone. Can you hear my voice?
Can indeed.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Dr. Diane, Prof. Fong, and my fellow friends. Okay, today I would like to present my progress. Okay, next. Okay, actually, I choose my own course, which is Radio Production 1, to be part of iOER project. And actually, in this course, I have 9 chapters, but for this project, I will focus on chapter 1 or maybe with chapter 2. And the intended audience actually for my own students and also public who have interest in radio. And next. Okay, for the content and deliverable, actually this one I will combine with my own research, and of course I will remix with other resources. For example, from Khan Academy, they are using BY and CSA 4.0, and then another resources is from the JSTOR, where I need to cite from the author because this is the open access. And for the quality control, the content will be checked by Felix Lee. Felix Lee is the station manager for Sabah FM. This is under Radio Television Malaysia. And another reviewer is Associate Professor Dr. Juliana from University Science Malaysia. Okay, next. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the content development, and currently I'm working on this chapter 1. And since I learned about the iOER, so previously, you know, my PDF is very colorful. But for this project, as you can see, black and white, and of course, I put graphic as well, so that it can be, you know, looks very interesting. Okay, and then for this chapter, student will see the table of content first, because this is really important for them to get the basic idea what I'm going to talk about for chapter 1. So I'm going to talk about topic learning outcomes. So I will do the ice breaking. Okay, where I will create a game, and this game they can access online. But currently I'm working on it. Okay, I cannot show anything, but I hope I manage to come out with a very good game. Okay, after that I'm going to talk about the definition of radio and where the remix came. The remix came here when I talk about the world history of radio. So of course I need to cite from different resources. And then I'm going to talk about radio in Malaysia, the roles and functions, the characteristics of radio, types of radio, and then I'm going to have the class activity, the summary, and of course at the end we should have at least reflection. Okay, so that's all from me. Thank you.
Dr. Diane, you are muted.
Thank you very much, Intan. Has anybody got any questions for Intan? I think that was a very logical, well-explained process that she's following, and the development of the remixing is very appropriate as well. Thank you so much. Well done. That's an excellent explanation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Diane.
Well done. Now, what I was going to say, so the mode of presentation for your resource, is it a PDF or is it online? Is it a website?
It is a PDF, PowerPoint, and a website.
Perfect, all three. Fabulous. Thank you very much. I'd love to now introduce, oh, somebody else have a question? No? I would love to introduce Nohuda Salaf, and she will talk about what she has produced so far.
Thank you, Dr. Diane. Good morning.
Good morning.
Assalamualaikum. Selamat Hari Raya, my fellow friends. Okay, my Touchpoint. Okay, this is my project, feature writing. Okay, I choose the topic, one of the topic under my feature writing course, which is structure of feature writing. Okay, my intended audience are undergraduate and people who want to learn how to write an article. Okay. Okay, my lectures note from the PowerPoint slide. Okay, maybe after I get some information from Dr. Diane presentation just now, I want to convert my lecture notes to PDF, and also I want to put some videos inside my notes, and also I get some information from this reading material, Writing Fabulous Features from the Malot. Okay. Okay, so okay, my content will check by my friends from the USM. Also, I want to get from the media industry, which is an editor. Okay. I will identify the individuals soon, and I also will come out the rubric for the iOER. This one adapted from this ISKNE. Okay. Okay, this is my timeline. At the moment, I still working on my slide presentation, because in the structure of feature writing, we have three components, which is introduction, body text, and also conclusion. Dr. Diane, if you don't mind, can I share my slide presentation? Maybe you can give me some advice to enhance my notes. Is it possible?
Yeah, do proceed.
Sorry, I shouldn't mute myself, but yes, go. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay, this is my screen. Okay, maybe I need to change my color scheme. Okay, because this one I haven't checked the accessibility for my PowerPoint slide. Okay, this is roughly.
So you can easily go and check your accessibility by going to, review.
This one, right?
Yeah, and just click up the top of it. Yep, check accessibility.
Okay.
And then it'll come up on the side. So you can see where it's got hard to read contrast on the next one down.
Okay.
So it's missing, yeah. So if you click, go down, see where it's got hard to read contrast. So that's telling you that that picture there doesn't have an alternative text. So if somebody saw that, they wouldn't know what that was. Now, what you can do is you can either say, this is just a decorative picture. You don't have to describe it in any depth if you don't want to. If it's just decorative on your presentation, you just say decorative picture.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Diane.
And
okay.
yeah.
This one, I have a problem of this one because this is in the infographic format. Is it possible I use this one or I need to change my slide presentation?
So what you can do is actually convert that to a picture.
Okay.
Do you know how to do that?
Make here and right click, is it?
Yeah. and then save as picture. Yep.
Okay, thank
and then
you
and
very
then
much.
and then you can add alternate text to that picture, and then you can describe the graphic.
Okay, great. Okay, thank
Okay.
you, Dr. Diane.
That's okay. So there's just different ways of doing it, and it's all about thinking, well, how can I get that information across to somebody who can't see it?
Okay, thank you.
All right, so it's all about that thinking. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm just going to share your final one again, and you can see that you're currently working on accessible PDF and PowerPoints, and then looking at, converting to accessible formats. So really that's what we're talking about now, is converting it to those accessible formats as well. Okay. With the PowerPoints and definitely the PowerPoint presentations in particular, we want to make sure that we're providing sufficient information so that somebody can comprehend what we're trying to get across. And it might mean that color contrast, for example, I think you'll find your first page is actually okay because you've got bright orange and white, and they're quite contrasting. I ran a checker on this particular PowerPoint, and this page that's showing now came up as being low contrast. So this one I would need to go in and change. There would be insufficient contrast for somebody to perceive that information effectively. Okay, so there's a variety of different things that we would need to consider when we're looking at making sure our stuff is accessible, and we'll touch on that again in our next touch point as well. So what have I got? That's all I've got for today, and I just wanted to check with Dr. Fong if there's anything else that we would need to cover or that people would like to address. Dr. Chong, you had a question.
Can I share about the progress of UPM?
Oh, please do.
Yes, okay. So I would like to share the screen. So currently our teams in UPM, in addition to the representative, develop their respective iOER material, we are building our repositories. So this is the, how to say, alpha phase of our website. So we are using ePrints. So for the educators to upload their files, and when they upload the files, then they can start to label them and also put in the license they want. Yeah. And then also because the embargo is more on copyright. So because we are working with library unit, librarians, they are used on more copyrighted material. So the template they have for us is more on copyrighted, which copyright license, they have expiry date. So we will modify on that. This is still in a very alpha phase, and after that we can put in, like, let's say we put a PDF, what's the title and what is the
information about.
Yes, informations, and maybe I developed the OERs by a teams of people, so we can include them. And also because there are a lot of like status published, impressed, submitted, and unpublished is more for the librarians copyrighted material, so we will modify from that. So, and also we will actually change the uncontrolled keywords into the other information, for example tagging, because we want the contributors to put the tagging in after that. So when they search by taggings, for example, let's say I'm teaching math, then I can put the relevant taggings here. So when they search, instead of keywords from our title, also maybe the other taggings that relevant to our materials. So it's facilitate the the audience to search their materials.
Yes.
So right now we are develop this one. It's still in very alpha. We still modified from the current templates, but we aim to have this ready. So after that, when the representative have developed their iOER, they can start to deposit onto the platform. So that's all
fantastic.
On the e-PEMBELAJARAN, yeah. All right.
That's brilliant. And I'm hoping that other institutions have something similar to support those who are putting their iOER up onto the institutional repository. Munira, you had a question?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, and good morning to our beloved Prof. Diane and friends. Actually, first of all, I would like to apologize for not uploading the slides, but
that's okay.
At the moment the slide is ready. Yeah, I admit, because our team affected by food poisoning, so I just like part of mine. So they are still recovering. It's because of the Raya. I was really sorry to share that. But anyway, before they got that food poisoning, let me share the PowerPoint slide.
Yes, please. That'd be fabulous.
Yeah. So yeah. How to share.
I'm very sorry that they're not well. I hope everybody's okay.
Yeah, actually we have one important workshop scheduled yesterday actually, but due to that food poisoning, really severe, because they got that since Friday night.
Wow, that's serious. Yes.
Yeah, very serious.
Okay.
So perhaps I become nervous now. So where should I click?
Down the bottom, you've got share screen in green. You should be able to click on that and share your screen.
Oh yeah. Yep. So that's how.
That's okay.
Really sorry. Okay.
Totally fine. Excellent.
Yes. So basically on perhaps I can just our team gratitude and appreciation for having this kind of opportunity, and we should say that our university have full support by even give us not just expertise but also budget to proceed, and this is our plan on leadership, inclusiveness, diversity and sustainability leads action plan. So we have should I say quite specific items for every we should say content, and we want to share our outline as keys. Keep it substantive, significance, and yet simple, because we believe that everyone can learn. So in terms of episode suggestion, because we try to make it as storytelling, we provide or use some breakdown that we should have this kind of total of estimatedly 20 videos. Wow. For 3 teams or sub-teams, because the team is leadership and communitizing technology, and we are focusing on leadership icons.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So why? Because we should say that we really brainstorm our content because we want to make it as accessible as possible, and as the saying goes of everyone can learn. So we believe that by having a proper introduction and also conclusion with certain division of duration of time will be something like this, that we have the ideas and storyboard. Okay, we already passed this, the discussion of ideas and storyboard towards the content of the video. Even we concerning about the accessibility, I think our prior concern is also due to the licensing. So we decided to go for, should I say, safe approach, which is we go for authentic content. Yes. Meaning to say we got the permission and we proceed with the developing of content.
Perfect.
So about the resources gathering, just to minimize in case, okay, so resources gathering, we are now gathering all the possible content related to what we already planned. And in terms of video making and editing, we already also started by tomorrow, I guess, and even we are discussing with our fellow friends from Indonesia, and initially with one of other friend from Japan, but since the black and white is not there yet, so just can share. That's the intention. So
that's fabulous.
Yeah, because I consider that as a blessing, since we are also have ongoing project on education. So we try to accommodate the ship as we can say as full house as possible, perhaps. So in terms of accessible to yeah, we try to make it accessible to all kind of impairments. And in terms of this, we thank to our fellow team, Nasrul, because he just finished the course on accessibility. So hopefully he can practice fully for this project. And about this, we consider this as auditing process, because we do believe the AQC, accessibility quality check, will be done accordingly by experts.
Okay.
So,
one thing to consider when you're, if you're doing a whole series of video, is that you might want to also have a transcript available.
Okay.
So that's another way of ensuring that people with a hearing impairment can access that video as well. And they could do that alongside the video, but having it available is usually quite an accessible thing to do.
Okay, noted. Thank you very much, Prof. Diane. I already note this and we'll pass the message to the team.
And look, it might not be appropriate, but if it is, then having that transcript as well as the video itself can be very useful.
Okay. We try to make them make it as a package if possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
As a package. Yeah. So initially we put our due dates of 14 June because as a novice, we believe that we should have a lot of things to improvise. And as others mentioned, so our audience or perhaps target viewers will be students, specifically for our course, leadership, contemporary leadership in community. And I collaborate together with my two other team members, Dr. Noram and also Dr. Johari, by having that kind of like sub team to have possible target viewers from students, academicians, and also public and our disability community. And this is the description. And about the PWD, person with disabilities, we will try to accommodate with sign language, read video captions, animation and infographic, as well as audio description. Yeah, this is the plan. So hopefully we already also identify the key person. Hopefully they will be available to help us out to complete the plan. So yes, we also have the during the discussion, we also have this to have a clearer picture for audio description. So
excellent.
Perhaps this is the requirement criteria. We try to comply with the verbal language, the subtitle, the logo of UMP, because yes, we are under UMP obviously.
Yes.
So about the video style, we try to consider the latest input in order to make creativity in line with the substance of accessibility. So this is really a tough challenge because to have a content itself is not easy, but this time to make it accessible as possible, this is the other level of criteria that we have to comply.
It's very, very good. One thing you might want to consider too, if you're really making it very accessible for people with vision and hearing impairments, is if you have somebody with vision and hearing impairments to be part of the process.
Okay. Okay.
So if you
yes. So perhaps we had collaboration with them last year. So
perfect.
hopefully we can other than having UMP disabled person as well, I think it is, yes, as suggested, it's better to also have from public, I mean those from disabled community, the blind and deaf, to be part of the reviewer.
Look, if you can, it's always useful, because then they're going to tell you, no, I can't access that, or I don't understand that content. So where possible, if you can, have people with disabilities involved in the process of construction. That goes for anybody, because it can actually help you to ensure that what you're doing is accessible, because it's coming straight from the person themselves.
Okay. So I think in terms of the Touchpoint 2, this is our progress so far. It's a very humble, I should say, motion from all of us. So really looking forward from the experts, Prof. Diane, and also our fellow experts from UUM, Dr. Chong, Prof. Fong, and the rest also to help us out. Thank you very much. Selamat Hari Raya.
Thank you so much, Manira. That was a fabulous presentation. Really appreciate your telling us what you're up to, and sounds like you've got a really solid plan of action to what you're doing. Dr. Chong, did you have a query or question?
Yes, for UMP, they take a very good initiative to form a team in their university to build the OER repository. So after Dr. Munila checked with their university and realized that there's no repository available in their uni, so she took the initiative with the letter given by KPT. She formed a team and has a discussion with their TNC. It's a very, very good initiative. I would like to suggest, if Dr. Munila okay with it, can Dr. Munila share the initiative and what you have done to the group to give inspiration to the others, so that they can understand that the letter given by KPTs can be used in this sense to help, to ask for resources, to form a team, to build the platform and so on, can do more rather than individuals. Yeah, I think what I have done by Dr. Munila and the other representatives are very inspiring.
Absolutely. Dr. Manira.
Thank you very much. But as I said, we are still novice, and we are even quite, should I say, worry about, is it possible to complete as planned. But we believe with this kind of support that we have from our respected fellow friends, especially from Prof. Diane and our facilitator. So we try our best. And yeah, not to forget, for the repository, we also have very close cooperation with our PSPE or CREL, that is for online learning, that ilmu that I shared before. So I very much thank also to Dr. Awanis, the director for that particular center. And we also, and me as for the director for disability, I also try my best to incorporate whatever resources that possible for them, even from the club, to participate, and hopefully it will be something at least beneficial. Thank you.
Fantastic. Look, very inspiring what you guys are doing, and I'm very interested in what you're doing, Manira, because it's right close to my heart. So has anybody else got anything they would like to share in regards to what they've been doing? So I'd just like to open the floor. Nobody?
I saw Annie raise her hand just now,
Annie?
but she lowered it. Annie?
Let's pick on her. Annie?
Oh, sorry, I just click the button.
Oh.
Sorry about that. Thank
That's
you.
okay. Thank you. How are you going? Are you progressing?
But so far I'm just preparing the video for the OER and then do some transcription of that. It just I'm quite confused now. Is it we meaning that here we have two ways of doing this, right? First, either we do it as part as a website. Another one is just to provide with the PowerPoint slides. Is it?
Yeah. You can do
true?
you can do whatever you want. You could do a PDF, you could do a PowerPoint, you can do a video, you can do a website. It's whatever form that it takes. There's no one set way to do it.
Okay, right. Thank you, Pradai.
So you're
And
totally
then,
fine.
Okay, and then for the what you call that the presentation later on or for the showcase, okay, how it should happen? How are we going to present our iOER later on? I'm curious now.
So there's a couple of ways we can do that. One is similar to what we've been doing now, where you can talk about the development of it and then present the link so people can go and have a look at that particular resource. We'll also probably have a list of the links to the resources that people have developed as well. So we'll have some people presenting their resource, some people presenting how they did it, other people, presenting the links to them. Dr. Chong.
If the madam any referring to the repository, then just like, for example, if you have your you already have a repository in your UIPM, you can use that, or else you can maybe do like what UMP do. They're forming a new team to build a new repository. Alternatively, you can just upload onto the others Creative Commons or OER repository available out there, and then you have the links. When you showcase, you just link us to that particular resources. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we don't have to meaning that we still have to present our OER on that day, right?
Yes. So we would be asking you to present either maybe how you constructed your iOER or the iOER itself. Either one of those would be fine.
Oh, okay. Now quite clear about that. Okay, thank you, Pradai, for the answers.
You're very welcome. Nice to see you again. Would anybody else like to contribute or to ask any questions? Please, this is the time. Ask away. No?
I respond very quickly to what Ernie is saying. During the showcase ceremony, at this point in time, according to the Higher Education Department, we will be having a hybrid mode of presentation. So there could be those who might be invited or will be meeting at the Higher Education Ministry place, face-to-face to present, or we could also be online or end online. So there'll be two modes given.
I think that's an excellent.
Also mention, that for every one of us, I would suggest that we do a 1 to 3 minutes kind of a video screencast to promote what we have presented, what we have developed. Just like what Diane is saying just now. Okay, so you can have a video recording to present your process that you went through and also your actual product, and then a link to your actual website or your product.
That would be brilliant. Perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Fong. So Manira, did you have a question?
Yes, I would like to ask about the right way of doing the perhaps like collaboration or invitation with the key person, since we are focusing on the doing the video. So perhaps, for example, tomorrow I will have something like Global Classroom Initiative from UMP. And it's also tagged to my class leadership, contemporary leadership in community. So is it proper for us also to to post like the iOER logo, because if it is allowed and permitted, so perhaps we can promote as Prof. Fong suggested. So it will be 2 or 3 in 1.
I don't have a problem with that. I think that's an excellent idea. The more you share and the more open we are with our resources, the better. So I would encourage. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. So
fabulous.
Since permission granted, so I will proceed with the promotion immediately. Thank
Sounds
you very
great.
much. Really appreciate.
Fabulous. Okay, so I think we're coming towards the end of our session now. Professor Fong, do you have any other things that you would like to contribute?
Okay, we shall be concluding right now. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to Dr. Diane for Touchpoint number 2. Very helpful tips given to us. And I think it's increased our enthusiasm as well as you have encouraged us that you can go on.
I'm very excited for everybody.
Yeah, good. And especially to say a big thank you to Dr. Intan, Dr. Nurhuda, Dr. Chong, Dr. Mudira for sharing. And
all the facilitators. Yes,
and all the facilitators, of course. And I believe that all this will be very inspiring for every one of us that we can also make it. Okay. The letter from the Department of Higher Education had been sent to all the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic and Internationalization. So in that letter, the university had been called to respond and to support every one of us by name had been listed there. All our names have been listed there. So any help that you need now to produce your video, to produce anything that you do not have the skill, just turn to your Deputy Vice Chancellor. It is a university project at the moment, and that letter comes from the Department of Higher Education, their boss. Okay. I strongly, again, like to say a big thank you to Dr. Munira binti Abdul Razak. I think what you have done, your initiative, as well as what you have been doing through your committee, is really something that we can benchmark upon. Okay, she had the full support, and I think that's the reason why her work is really very exemplary. Thank you so much, Dr. Mudira, for your example. And again, we still have the time. We still have the time to set up our small committee within our university to get all the support that we need. Okay. Again, the showcase ceremony, I just have to mention that the Department of Education will be making arrangement, and there will be a hybrid mode. Okay, so there will also be invited speeches, and to officiate it will be our Ministry of Higher Education at the moment. Okay, for that matter, they might even call upon the Prime Minister.
Wow.
But otherwise, it is taken to be a very important agenda in the Ministry of Higher Education concerning iOER. And as in UNESCO, Janet had also mentioned to other people, through UNESCO, that in Malaysia, our iOER policy have been very exemplary, and what is going on, design and development at the national level, is also very exemplary. So thank you, Dr. Diane, for leading us.
You're very welcome. It's been my absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Okay. And the policy for iOER had already been officially uploaded in the website of the Higher Education Ministry. So we can access it and you can use it freely because it is a CCBY SA.
Perfect. Okay. So we might conclude for today. Please don't hesitate to contact your facilitators or myself, Dr. Fong, if necessary, in regards to any issues you might have or any concerns or questions that you might have. We're coming up now to our final phase where we're going to be coming up to Touchpoint 3 very soon, sooner than we realise, I think, and hopefully we can make some excellent iOER. So thank you, everybody. Much appreciated, and have a great day.
Dr. Diane, maybe you can conclude by saying what you expect out of Touchpoint 3 from us.
Okay, so Touchpoint 3, I'm expecting pretty much completed iOER. And from there, we're going to talk very briefly about how we can double check to make sure that our open education resources are very inclusive. So that's going to be the main focus of Touchpoint 3. And really those final touches, those final details on our iOER. So if you haven't already, I would really encourage you to determine where you're going to be placing your iOER in an institutional repository and getting support for that, as has been already mentioned. But really thinking about the inclusiveness of it as well. And I think that's what we're going to be focusing on for Touchpoint 3, but you need to have them almost finished or pretty well finished by 6th of June. So I'm looking forward to that. If you haven't got them completely finished, you know, even part of it would be fantastic. So we want to have something that we can present and be proud of in regards to the iOER. So thank you very much.
Okay, yes.
I think we'll conclude there and wish everybody a great day and a great week. Hopefully you've all back on track now that you've had so many holidays and you can all get started back to work. Okay, so have a lovely time, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.